Hi everybody, I'm Mary from Quilting on the Square in Holton, Kansas, and we're here to give you an overview of our new program, Jane Goes Digital. The Jane Goes Digital program is a machine applique embroider adaptation of the original Jane Stickle quilt that is hanging in the Bennington Museum in Bennington, Vermont. This quilt was made in 1863 and it has 225 unique blocks in it. So this is a picture of the original quilt in the museum, and now here is our machine embroidered adaptation of that same quilt. And we're very impressed. The two look very similar. Some of the blocks have been modified slightly to allow for the machine embroidery process, but the overall look and feel of the quilt holds true to the original. This quilt was published in 1991 in a book called Plain and Fancy by Richard Cleveland and Donna Bister. And it's about Vermont, their people, and their quilts. And there's our Jane quilt right there in all her glory. In 1996, Brenda Papadakis also wrote a book called Dear Jane, where she explores the history of the Jane Stickle quilt and has also drafted block diagrams for each of the blocks in the quilt. So that's our traditional version of the quilt. We've made some other versions of the quilt. Over here we have our springtime version. So springtime is the exact same quilt, only it was made with just 3 fabrics. The white background fabric, the turquoise for the outer triangle borders and the sashing, and 1 print used for all the applique. And here's that 1 print that we used throughout the entire quilt. So pretty stunning results with just 3 different fabrics. We're very pleased with the way that one turned out. Over here on this far wall, we have 2 other quilts. We have a quilt that is called Nighttime, or Black and Bold. This was made with 7 different batiks, a solid black and a silver and black speckled border. We're going to talk a little bit more about the quilt, but when you cut out your shapes for your applique, you end up with a mirror image. The day quilt over here was made with the mirror image from the nighttime quilt. So by cutting your shapes out, in theory, you could make 2 quilts that are the mirror image of each other. A little more on the mirror image. This will give you an idea of how that mirror image works. And these 2 are actually sample blocks that are on our website. You can download them for free and try them out and see how you like them. And we will have a link for that in the description of this video for you. But in this case, here we cut the background fabric. So we have this background fabric and this background fabric. So we were able to make 2 blocks that are the mirror image of each other. Same with this block. The background fabric here and the background fabric there. 2 blocks, mirror images of each other. Now, in order to be able to make this quilt, we do recommend a few supplies that we'll discuss a little bit later in more depth. We recommend a product called Material Magic to stabilize your blocks for the embroidery process. If you're going to be cutting your blocks out on any of the electronic cutters on the market, we recommend a product called 404 Ruler Grip, and we'll show you later on how that works. The other thing you're going to need is water-soluble glue stick. That's it, water-soluble glue stick. This is the school glue. We recommend a sticky stabilizer for your hooping. We recommend a stable glider, peel and stick tearaway, and a variety of threads for you to be able to stitch out your block. A good scissor set is needed. And if you want to cut your blocks out manually, A good product is Quilter's freezer paper, which is a printable freezer paper, and we'll show you how that works in a later video. Now for the process of Jane Goes Digital, the applique process is a 4-step process. The first thing you want to do is cut out your shapes. So in this example, here's my shapes that I have cut out to make my first block. And you can see again the mirror image. So we have this piece and then we have these 4 pieces. The first thing that the embroidery machine is going to do, you're going to hoop your fabric, put it in the machine, and it's going to stitch out this outer border square that will be on each and every block, and then your placement stitches for your applique. Once that step is done, you'll unhoop your machine, and using your water-soluble glue stick, you'll just apply a little bit of glue to those shapes. And just glue those in place, making sure that you have them positioned correctly with your placement lines that have been stitched out. So this is the block we're going to make that's going to look like this. Conversely, instead of gluing these shapes down, I could have glued down that shape and had a block that looks like this. So that's step 1. Step 2, you go back in the hoop and your machine will stitch a very small zigzag stitch around each of your applique shapes to tack them down. So step 2 is your tack down stitch. Step 3, it's going to go around and stitch a satin stitch around all of those shapes. This is where you can have fun with different thread choices. So that's your satin stitch. The final step is an outline stitch. So back in the hoop, it will stitch an outline stitch around both sides of the satin stitch on each and every applique in the design. In this case, we used a different color thread for our outline stitch. You wouldn't have to, you could use the exact same color thread. Here's an example that was stitched using the same color thread for all 4 steps. It gives it a very elegant look and feel. In order to be able to do this program, the machine formats that we provide are DST, EXP, HUS, JEF, PES, VIP, VP3, and the ever-favorite XXX. So those are the 8 formats that are available with this program. Also to do this, in order to be able to make the center blocks, you need a 5 1/4 inch hoop. In order to be able to do the corner triangles, which here's some of the corner triangles, you need a 6 by 9 hoop. So those are the 2 hoop sizes you need to complete this project.